Welcome. Today we're talking about the flow state, and this is the first in a series of videos I'm going to do about flow, so let's crack into it. Let's start with some quotes. Here they are. The best moments usually occur when a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. In that state of deep concentration, consciousness is unusually well ordered. Thoughts, intentions, feelings, and all the senses are focused on the same goal. Enjoyment is characterized by this forward movement, by a sense of novelty, of accomplishment. Now, these are all quotes from a book about flow called Flow, by a guy called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it's a really good book. I've read it twice. I thoroughly recommend it. And I'm going to link down to it in the description below. So with these quotes in mind, let's think about what the flow state actually is. What are its characteristics? So the flow state is a mental state in which you're fully engaged with a task and in the zone, so to speak. So if you've ever found yourself sort of drawing for hours and the world around you seems to disappear, then that's a flow state. As long as you're enjoying what you're doing and you're engaged with the task and it's sort of intrinsically rewarding. Another example would be having a deep philosophical chat with a friend that sort of goes on into the long hours of the night, and it's this kind of beautiful and automatic process in which you're tending towards the solution to whatever problem it is that you're talking about. That's another example of a flow state activity. Finally, you might do something more physical to get into a flow state. So you might swim competitively, and when you're during the race, not at the end of the race, during the race, you're sort of in that focused zone, and that's where you find this kind of fulfillment. Last time, in the last video, we discussed presence, and presence is when you're focused on this moment, the now, and it's a related concept. The way that I see these two concepts interrelating is that flow is the mental state that emerges when you become fully present to whatever it is that you're doing. You and the activity in the flow state kind of seem to merge into this one dynamic entity, right? You merge into this forward-moving, worthwhile, creative process, and you don't really have to think too much about what you're doing. And when you do, the thoughts tend to be very sort of efficient and forward-looking, and you might get the occasional thought, "This is so great! What I'm doing is brilliant! This is so fun!" And then immediately you're back to what you're doing. So Csikszentmihalyi calls the flow state experience an autotelic experience, which basically just means that the activity itself is intrinsically rewarding. Yes, you're trying to reach a certain goal. So in the example of swimming, you're trying to win the race, if it's a race, but it's the process of the race. That's where you find the flow. After the race, you get, I guess, a different experience of an emotion you could call satisfaction, happiness, I don't know. But flow is what you experience during the race itself. Now, the cool thing about the flow state activity is that almost anything can be a flow state activity, but obviously different individuals are going to have different preferences for what they do to get into this flow state. So question, what is it that you already do to get into a flow state? What things do you do at the moment that you find both enjoyable, engaging? When you do them, the rest of the world seems to shut off, and you're just this sort of narrow focus. For example, you might find that you like to go dancing, right? And you're going clubbing or whatever, and you're just dancing the night away. And it's important to note that if you do like doing this kind of thing, don't neglect it just because it's not conventionally productive. It's one of the main arguments in Csikszentmihalyi's book is that flow is a very essential feature of happiness. So the happiest people are the ones who get into this flow state the most. And if you really enjoy dancing and it's something that's important to you, then do it. Don't feel guilty about needing to go clubbing every once in a while, because you're actually helping your overall well-being, and it'll help the holistic project of turning yourself into a person who really enjoys their life. Here's another interesting question. What activities am I doing at the moment that I perceive to be chores, and what would happen if I saw them as opportunities to get into the flow state itself? So, for example, you might not have a dishwasher, you might have to do the dishes, and currently you see that as a chore. But what if you saw it as an opportunity for flow, as an opportunity for enjoyment, right? You could enjoy these kinds of activities a lot more and find that there's actually something enjoyable about scrubbing the plates clean rather than finding it a drag. So yeah, 2 questions. How do I already get into flow, and what are some other ways, new ways that I could get into flow? So I'm here with my friend James. James studied history at Cambridge University, and he's going to talk a little bit about some of the ways in which flow played a part in his studies during his time there. So yeah, James, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so when I was doing my degree, like I'd have to write essays on a weekly basis, so like quite a lot of reading and writing in the library. And I think the process of actually doing that reading and like developing your ideas and then formulating those ideas into the kind of argument you're going to give in an essay really like epitomizes this idea of flow. So the drawn out process of from beginning to end of like engaging with the reading, the material you're going to use to inform yourself about what you're writing about, and then moving forward to like developing those ideas, as I said, and then putting them into a form of analytical argument in written form. Definitely the times which would be most productive would be when you'd be experiencing like this, I suppose what you call flow, as you've described, where you're all of those ideas are coming together and they're kind of channeling towards a single end goal of the argument you're going to give. So yeah, I definitely say throughout the experience of writing those essays, like really it is that flow which is when you're most productive.
Great, okay. Yeah, so university is a place where there's lots of opportunities for flow, and if you're at university, make the best of it because it doesn't last forever, as we know. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Tune in next time, and hope you enjoy the video. Peace.